You may have just heard a crack that sounds like thunder, but it's actually the unsheathing of the storm vector from Top's knives.
Whoa! Yeah! Oh! Yeah! 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 Whoa! You just cut out the whole thing.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video here at Gideonstactical, out here in the woods at the Blade Boot Camp, rocking the Storm Vector from Tops. Wow, this 12-inch Skax design taken from like Saxon and Norse tools and those type of tools that they used to use, and then just putting it with modern materials, 1095 high carbon steel that we know Tops can do so well. My Micarta handle scales, little blue pop there in the handles, 12-inch blade. I mean, this thing is a monster to behold and to wield and to use. And I've had a chance to really thump on it out here, do tons of work with this thing. And I'm excited today to show you what the capabilities of the Storm Vector are. I mean, when you unsheath this thing, it's like calling on the God of Thunder to help you do your woods work. So let's have some fun today, guys. And later on in the video, we are going to run in the SE Hungelis in comparison. Just for those of you maybe looking at those extra large USA made 1095 machete / choppers, just give you a competitive option a little bit later on down the line in the video. So to get right into it, let's talk about this blade shape and just the blade itself. How does it perform? What are you getting? What are the expectations and what are the capabilities of this tool? Now, from handle to tip, it's 12.5 inches long. The cutting edge is 12 inches. That is massive. It will dwarf most other machetes that you own or match it depending on the size that you are looking at. So this is a big boy, and it is beefy at about 24.5 ounces naked, and then it's about 27 or so, 28 with the sheath that we'll look at here in a little bit. And before we go any further in this video, I want to give a big shout out to today's sponsor. Is Combat Wipes, both in active.
And for us ladies, they make Gaia Combat Wipes.
Because folks, I discovered a long time ago that when you're out in nature and nature calls and you got to take a pit stop, it's good to have a good set of wipes so that you can take care of yourself and feel nice and refreshed to keep on trekking. And what's really great about these Combat Wipes is not only are they 100% biodegradable, so you know that you're not going to be hurting the environment when you use them, but on top of that, they're going to come with aloe vera, chamomile, and vitamin E. Alcohol free, going to come with a good resealable lid.
And for us ladies, they're pH balanced and they contain aloe, cranberry, and calendula. They're perfect for when you're on the trail or out and about and need to take a pit stop.
So I invite you guys to go ahead and check out the hyperlink that we have in the description box below so you can see all the different products that Combat Wipes has available, and it will not only help keep your undercarriage fresh and clean, but it helps us continue to make content just like this. And so with that, let's go ahead and get back to it. Now, the way that the blade is designed, going narrower to wider, and then that drop reverse tanto, you know, Nordic kind of style from the Danes and the Vikings, you know, that Skax kind of idea, that means that the weight is going to be balanced more towards the nose, which is beneficial for chopping, and the balance point is going to be right around where the R ends on Storm Vector. So it's going to be forward of your finger choil by about 1.5 inches is where the balance point is. So what that means is that your energy is going to be like a baseball bat. It's going to be up front in those first probably 3 to 4 inches from the tip back. And as it is designed as a chopper / machete, I got to tell you, the chopping capability is mind-boggling because of that. Because of the weight being up front like that, because of the very high saber grind. So you're basically getting a full flat up to the last, I'd say 1/4 inch or so of the spine, and then it flattens out to a saber. That means that you're going to get huge chunks, huge bites into the piece of wood. And at 0.24, that basically 1/4 inch thick, it's going to be able to work almost like a hatchet. And I actually compared it to a couple other hatchets that we were testing and reviewing, and it basically competed with your like 12-inch to 14-inch hatchets. It can easily compete in chopping with those. So on the chopping of either hardwood or greenery, it is easy. And the greenery, particularly because of the edge geometry, we have a fantastic edge geometry. So many large choppers often come with just really fat, obtuse, wide blades, and the grind angle is just not precise. And so they do that because they know you're going to put it through its paces, and they're trying to keep the edge as long as possible and keep it from chipping and rolling and those type of things. Well, because of Tops USA made, differential heat treat, being harder near the edge and then softer near the spine for flex and those type of things, that means that you're going to get a good edge, and they can make it nice and sharp and give it a very precise angle, so it's going to bite in through that greenery, and it's not going to feel like you're hitting that greenery again with like a baseball bat, or trying to use this big obtuse angled thing to take out greenery, but it's still got the toughness to hold up to the hardwood that you may be chopping on as well, environments like me here in the Rocky Mountains. So those aspects dueling together work really, really well. Now, I will say on this tip, and we're going to talk about that with the Hungalis later, is very precise. This is not something you want to be like digging with or stabbing and cranking side to side. It's a very precise tip, which means it gives you a lot of capability in the finer work in that reverse grip there, or excuse me, that reverse tanto design. Actually, when you run your lanyard hole through your wrist like this, gives you a leverage point, and you can actually do really fine work up front very easily, control it very easily, do food prep actually very easily. I actually had fun preparing some meals with this in the house, and that was a lot of fun to do because of how precise and sharp the edge is, and the good high angle, making it very easy to work with vegetables and fruit, not just hacking them and decapitating them like we did a moment ago. So that aspect is really, really good, but man, you got that is because of the weight being up front, the precision of that tip, it is terrifying. You really have to respect this knife, and it took some getting used to in a good way because of its capability. I knew how sharp, how precise, and how penetrating the tip could be. So you really have to, be aware of that as you are using the tool and respect the Sturmvector. And what it's capable of. Now, as we come down the line for the finer work, going again with that edge geometry before we talk about batoning, it made it easy to do feather sticks as well. Now, when I say easy for a big knife, because of the weight balance, it's not an edge geometry thing. Because of the way the edge is, or excuse me, the weight is balanced, you do have a finger choil that we'll talk about in a little bit that gets you to be able to choke up. So that's a very good thing, but you're still fighting a 12-inch, blade's weight up front. So you can absolutely do it. You can, do finer work. You can make feather sticks, no problem, better than many big blades, but you will just have a large balancing aspect that you just have to be aware of. So you just have to kind of hold it a little differently. Sometimes it helps to kind of cut at like a 45 if you have the clearance, put it on a stump or something like that, and that will make the energy of the weight work with you when you're doing finer work. But the edge geometry works great for the feather sticks that you may want to do and stuff that you can't always do with the big tools. Now on to batoning. Because of that high saber grind, it is going to split well, and with the 1/4 inch thickness basically, and 12 inches of blade length, you can span wood, you can crack it, and you can really do a good job with it. Now, just because it's so massive doesn't mean that you can go take, a 10-inch log and try and split it. I would always consider it, as the longer the blade goes, not that it gets weaker, but the flex and things to think about, how knotty is the wood that you're working with. So just take that in consideration. I would never really want to or try to split anything more than like about 4 inches, about max that I ever try to split, even though it has this spanning for much larger and great, connection points on the back. That gives you a lot to work with when you are splitting, and it can absolutely do that almost in a fro kind of format, like those old wood froes, that you like hit and you just use it to baton. And that's kind of where batoning first came from, and one of the main ideas behind it. So batoning, it's cake for everything that you should be batoning with. It's going to do that because of the 1/4 inch thickness, the high saber grind, and the extremely long blade to be able to work with and, you know, find what you need and give you plenty of spaces to hit that back spine with. So I would argue that the blade not only is epically cool looking, but epically performing as well. I think you're going to get amazing levels of performance on almost every level with this tool. All right, folks, now what about this handle? If you are wanting to make a chopping knife, this is the right way to do it. Not only is every angle well radiused, there are no sharp angles, there's no exposed tang anywhere. Sometimes you'll see that where like the lanyard hole is exposed and not covered in micarta or something like that, and then it becomes a very hot spot and shock point. This is all very contoured, very gradual, very rounded, and like I said, everything radiused and rounded very well. No squared off clunky brick feeling aspects to it. We have micarta handle scales with blue G10 liners in there. Really nice. Good cutouts. And these are the two aspects on top of everything I've just shown you with just the radiousness, is the thickness at 1 inch. That is a good beefy handle to grab onto. And at 5.5 inches long, you're gonna have plenty of real estate. Plus, because of how big the knife is, for me, I'm always looking for finger choils in a size that's really, if it starts getting above 7 to 8 inches, I would prefer a finger choil, and this gives it to us. So just kind of show you here, in a choked up position, locks you in real nice, no hot spots, and I can get good control up close near the handle there. Very generous finger choil, and I can still hold it really well and do finer cuts up near the tip and kind of be able to do notching and things like that if I need to. And that choil doesn't feel like an afterthought. It feels like it was designed to be part of it, gripped up in that close position. And it gives you even the ability to kind of grip like this. And if you are going to be doing like vegetable and fruit food prep, which this, again, as you've seen, can do very easily, that gives you just kind of a leverage point to be able to do very light, you know, carving and or hacking and or finer cuts if you need to, and gives you a lot of good control. You're not like fighting with some huge guard there. Then we have our first grip for medium hacks, and it's going to stay in place there, again, not creating any hot spots. And then finally, when you back up here, run your thumb through, wrap that sucker like that. I mean, you're locked in all day without any sort of shock, no pain. I never felt like it was going to go flying out of my hand, particularly when you lock it in with that lanyard, and it gives you a dual lanyard system with tubed lanyard holes there. So I have zero complaints with the way that they have designed this handle. It feels amazing, both choked up with finer cutting and also in the rear when you're doing heavy duty swings and chops. So very well done with the thickness, the diameter, and you as the user and me as the user, I think, are going to get a lot of different grips and feel comfortable and natural in each grip that you choose. All right, Sheath is Kydex, and that's super awesome to see, not only from Tops, but just in general. A lot of times with knives of this size, it's just easier for companies to do nylon. You know, it's a budget cutting, but also just, it's a lot of time and effort to try and size it properly, and definitely with this kind of unique shape. So the fact that we get a functional Kydex sheath, I think, is just a huge plus. And so we have a lot of lashing points up here near the front. We do have a good amount of drainage right there. I got it kind of clogged up with some dirt right now, but there is a point for like a thigh attachment, and because of how long this is and the way it's designed, you'll probably want to end up doing that if you're thinking of trekking through heavier brush, jungle, I mean, wherever, however you may be using this, you may want to get a thigh attachment just to kind of help you use it, because the way it's designed, it has an exposed half or 3/4, I would say, of the tang, and then we have a loop over attachment right here, and then it's molded around the handle. On the back side here, we have an adjustable pivot swing with a leather belt attachment. All this works great and functions well together, which actually gives you a lot of mobility and movement if you are going to carry this on your hip that some other larger knives just don't offer you. They slap around and it's kind of awkward. And so the tension is good in that regard. The button, you just kind of point down a little bit and pull. It's a rubberized strap there. And what I found is, even though with that exposed portion, you can kind of go out at an angle, I found it's better just to pull straight out and then put it straight back in. as you go into the sheath, and it works great. And then you just snap that sucker right back on there. It's one of those kind of locking buttons, so you got to get it at the angle to release it, so it's not just going to get popped every single time. So for the size and dimensions and functionality of this tool, this Kydex sheath with all of its attachments really functions well, and I have zero complaints. The only aspect is that it's not really set up for lefties. It's not an ambidextrous setup. Now, obviously, lefty, you're just going to have to cross draw, but it's pretty functional that way as well. Other than that, every aspect to the sheath was well thought out and functions very well. So we'll hit pricing at this point, and then I'm going to run in the SE Hungalis because it's very close in price and just in size, and just kind of talk through that a little bit. And so this guy's going to usually go for about 185 is the cheapest I've really seen it, to about 200 is in the ballpark of what you're going to be getting. Now, you're getting that 12.5-inch blade, Kydex sheath, made in Idaho, 1095, USA made. I can't really find any aspect to the knife that I can nitpick or complain about, from the grind angles to the edge geometry, handle construction, and the Kydex sheath. So though it is getting up there in about $200, you are getting a lot of tool that can do a lot of different tasks. And it's very competitive with the other blades in this size range from US companies. As an example, the SE Hungalis right now is usually going for around 180 to 185, and it's a smaller overall tool. So that's something to consider. So it's basically within $5–10 of the SE Hungalis, and it is larger and thicker and just is a bigger overall tool. All right, folks, so I just want to run in some more for size perspective. And, you know, if you're looking at the Storm Vector, you might be thinking about the Hungalis, or maybe you already own the Hungalis and you're like, man, do I need to get the Storm Vector? This is an epic combo, to be sure. If one can't do the job, the other one absolutely will. Yeah, and pricing is so similar as well. Materials are similar, so I just wanted to run it in here for perspective. Now, SE Hungalis has been around forever, bomb-proof, love this tool. The Storm Vector is going to be longer by quite a bit, actually. When you line up the cutting edges, you can just see how much longer. That means that the weight is going to be way more up here than what you're going to experience on the SE, which is kind of more right around here. Both chop really well. The Storm Vector, with its added length, added weight, and added thickness, it has a higher power per swing. It's just physics and, you know, geometry and those type of things. It just works that way. Not to diss the Hungalis and what it can do, but just to give you some perspective there. Something else I wanted to kind of point on, because maybe some of you are a little paranoid about how thin and precise the Storm Vector tip is. Well, the SE Hungalis tip is basically exactly the same thickness. And I've never had an issue with that throughout the years. It's very precise. It's basically full flat, just like this one. And they're about the exact same thickness up near the tips. So something just kind of consider there as well. And the nice thing is that you do get the finger choil with the Storm Vector. It's always been kind of a critique of mine with the Hungalis. I wish that it has a choil. Maybe at some point I will grind one in. So just want to give you guys some perspective there, and size dimensions as well when you run those two bad boys up next to each other. Guys, there's just a level of power that comes with holding this in your hand. You do feel like a Viking Norse warrior, and this is your main battle implement next to your battle axe. And there's a lot of capability with this tool. So, yeah, I cannot say enough good things about it. I'm in love, and it is a blast to use, and something that demands respect. And it's very impressive what Tops has been able to come up with and design and create, and still made right here in America. So, love to hear your guys' thoughts. What is maybe your experience and or questions that maybe I missed on the Storm Vector. I always look forward to reading the comments and having the discussion that we have here week in, week out at the channel. And if you're looking for a big machete, man, and you want those big choppers in your life, this should be right up there at the top of the list, fighting for your attention. So I invite you guys to check out the other videos popping up. Subscribe if you're not yet a subscriber. If you're not yet a subscriber, what's wrong with you? We've been putting videos out for almost 9 years now. I mean, it's crazy, and we just keep growing all the time over here. New adventures coming down the line real soon, and just new things, and it's going to be exciting. So we invite you to be part of the family here, Gideonstactical family, and those of you who've been here since the beginning, thank you so much. You're amazing. And until next time, always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared. We'll see you out there.